We're live.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
It's
We
New
wish
Year's.
you a Merry Christmas.
Oh, God. We should have
Merry
tested this
Christmas,
better because
everybody.
you're
Holly
cutting in and
jolly.
out, but you're all right.
Am I really?
I think you'll
Fine.
be okay. But
It's a
we,
happy choppy.
oh, God. We're live.
Welcome all.
Oh, God. And now I can hear
You
myself. I'm not
stream.
used to streaming. Okay. Okay.
Okay, welcome
It's New
everybody
Year's.
to Push to Shout. Merry Christmas.
Oh, shit. There's two previews going. Okay.
What a disaster.
That wasn't the official start. This is the official start of the Push to Shout podcast. A
Bam!
technical
Coming
error-free,
at you.
high-resolution stream, live for the end of 2015. The last podcast of the year. We're here to talk about video games. Actually, I'm not going to be talking about. Oh God, you're so bad. You know what? Maybe we should just ditch the Skype.
Is December 25th, 2015. There's a little bit of lag, so you might be seeing this a little bit later. We apologize
It's
if
more
that's
than
the
a
case.
little bit of lag. Unfortunately, this is a disaster.
Is it actually? Why is it sad?
Because your internet's shit. Also, you
How
just
about
stopped
that?
recording. I don't know. Maybe that'll help. We'll see. I'm pretty sure it's your internet, not your
Come
computer.
on.
All
Are
right.
you serious? Hello? Are you?
All right. Should we just stop? Should we quit Skype because that's hogging up your internet and see if that helps?
Is it better now? I
I
think
mean,
it might be.
it's temporarily better.
I stopped my mumble recording. This hard drive is dead. If it's doing anything, it's fucked. So I just stopped my local recording, and we should be good.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm stick to it.
Well,
This is why I'm having Skippy stream it tonight, guys, because this laptop is dying. This is the end.
yeah, and I bring the most quality stream, as you can see from the new layout that is exclusive to my hosting the stream, and I don't know. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get to it. We've been gone for 2 weeks. We took a break for Santa and Jesus, and
Yes.
and now
Wise men and women.
oh God, it's still pretty laggy. It's still pretty bad.
Fucking whatever.
All right, we'll deal with it. For now, we'll deal with it. We'll probably hang up
Okay.
the Skype because I think
Power
it's your
through.
Skype because I noticed that when it happens, or that'll work. You can just be the face.
I will be me.
Okay, so everyone wants to look at me anyway. This is the official start to the Push to Shout podcast, the last one of 2015.
Ho ho ho.
And we're here to talk about video games. Although I don't have a lot of video games to talk about because
I have no video games to talk about.
Yeah, as far as ones that I've played. Although maybe since there's not much news either, maybe we'll talk about our Game of the Years or our contenders for Game of the Year and whatnot. But we'll get to that because first of all, we want to go over what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. We've been gone for so long. This is unprecedented.
What's cooking?
Yeah, I asked you what's cooking.
Movies and TV and basically everything besides video games. We'll talk about Star Wars and Hateful Eight after.
Did you see Hateful Eight?
I did see Hateful Eight in
Okay.
70mm, glorious 70mm.
And glorious 70mm, yes.
Roadshow production, Cinerama, all that jazz.
Yeah.
I did start a show called The Newsroom.
Oh,
and
God.
I like it a lot.
Oh,
It's
God.
cool.
It's the worst. I hate it.
You really do?
Yes.
What do you dislike about it?
Everything. Well, not everything, actually. I actually started to like it for like the first 2 or 3 episodes, maybe. And then just gradually I started catching on to just shit that pissed me off. Did we talk about this, or was I talking to someone else
we
about
talked about
this?
The West Wing, which is created by the same guy.
Okay. I'm mixing up conversations because I talked about this with someone recently. Okay, so the newsroom. Let me tell you everything that's wrong with the newsroom and why you should
Please
hate
do.
it. First scene, right off the bat. You've got dumb college girl. She comes up. She's all like, oh, why is America the best country in the world? Straw man argument from the beginning. What the hell? Who asks that question? That's a dumb question. And then the first three panelists on the stage, they give dumb answers. And then you've got the star
Will
of the
McAvoy.
show, Will McAvoy, smartest dude in America, most woke of 2014 or whatever it is, 2008, whenever the fucking thing takes place. And he's all like, listen, bitch.
Yeah.
America actually isn't all that great.
Very preachy smackdown.
And let me tell you, I've memorized all these statistics, and let me tell you why America sucks, and Sweden rules, and and yeah, he just trashes her whole argument, and everyone's like, oh, I can't believe he just said that America isn't the best country in the world, which, all right, whatever.
You're freezing for me now, but
that's your fault.
What I can say is that. If you can't even hear me, which I
can
doubt.
hear you.
You can? Okay.
Yes.
So how far did you get?
I don't know. 2 or 3 episodes, maybe a little more.
Okay. Well, I'd say the beginning of the show, the very first scene, is kind of preachy. Not all that great.
Yeah.
But the show is very critical of him for doing that and being that way. And it gets even more so later on.
But it's just the way that
they revisit that at the end of the season and basically undo that scene.
I've heard of that, and I've heard it kind of redeems itself a little bit, but it's the way that people react to it. Like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Even though he wasn't really saying anything that crazy.
Yeah, it's not like the greatest, most insightful show.
But it acts like it is, and that's my problem with it.
Well, I don't think so. I think the character acts that way.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
That was more the point of that scene.
But so then, well, let me continue.
I'm enjoying it a lot.
let me continue, because then you've got the new guy in the kid, 22 years old. He's coming in. He's single. He's kind of scruffy looking but likable. And then you've got the girl who works as an intern or something in the newsroom, and she's got, a shitty boyfriend or husband or fiance or whatever, and it's literally the love story from The Office, even down to his name, Jim,
yep.
Which
seems... Well, okay. If you care about spoilers for the newsroom, this is minor. Just cover your ears for a second. That's one of the things I like about the show, and that's one of the things that they set up romance. It does not work. It completely subverts that. And it does that with quite a few things, where it sets it up and it seems like obvious, this is clearly going to go this way. And it just doesn't. So,
but do you think maybe you're giving the show, maybe you're giving the show more credit than it actually,
I'm really not.
You're thinking through it more.
Just the events that happen.
Oh my God, I hate your lag.
I hate it too.
But I can mostly understand what you're saying.
Can you imagine if I had been the one streaming? My God.
Yeah, I'm glad we decided to do it this way at least. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that show. I didn't like the plot line where she accidentally sends the mass email to all the employees, because that doesn't make sense.
The first 2 episodes, not all that great, and maybe even the first 3. I don't know.
And then the glory of retrospect. They're the only news story to pick up on the oil spill being a big deal. Because the show was written several years after that happened. I don't know. I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. It felt so far up its own ass. I don't like Aaron Sorkin as a writer usually. I liked The Social Network. It was like one of my favorite movies of that year. But his way of writing and his like, look at how the young kids do things. They're so weird and quirky. I don't know. He just seems so out of touch to me.
As the season goes on, they miss stories. They make mistakes. They start the show by setting them up as this crack team of idealistic newsmen who are going to do it right, but it doesn't totally work, and it's more interesting than you're giving it credit for, having seen 2 seasons of it. So
I would
recommend you watch more. I recommend people give it a try, because we started out with the problems with it. Let me just make its case.
I will allow you to do that.
Look at a newsroom. Dan Rather says that it's very accurate. He likes it a lot. It's like The West Wing. It's kind of a uncynical look at an institution where it's really easy to be cynical about it. TV news has this reputation as being a complete cesspool of, just stupid stories, get the ratings up, and those things aren't glossed over. I mean, there's lots of pressure from the network to drive ratings and things like that, but it's given a complex treatment that even the executives at the highest level of the company, they like understand what they're trying to do, but they have immediate business concerns. Like, I'm trying to meet with this congressman tomorrow, and you're shitting on him on TV. So I don't know. I recommend the show. I think it's good.
Whatever you say, man. Enjoy your Jane
That's right,
Fonda.
whatever I say.
All right.
She's funny in it.
All right. So starting off with point counterpoint. That's how the Push to Shout podcast is.
Hardball.
We don't take it easy on each other. We throw the punches.
Extremely laggy hardball.
Yeah. This is a great podcast. Let me check my own thing real quick here. So what I did mostly over the Christmas break was watch movies. Did you watch, besides The Hateful Eight and Star Wars, which are the obvious ones, did you watch any movies or any other TV shows other than The Newsroom?
Not really.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
How was your Christmas?
It was, it was fine.
Wow. All right.
Oh, I did get a new laptop. But
I hope this isn't it.
It's not.
Okay.
Because the wrong one showed up.
Oh, no.
So I sent it back. And
did you get an Asus?
I did, yeah.
You mean Asus? I'm sorry. I meant to pronounce it the correct way.
You know what? I do not doubt. I'm not saying this is the right way, but I don't doubt the right way to pronounce it is Asus.
It is.
But I will never, ever say it that way.
I agree.
I'm sorry. It sounds bad. I'm not going to do it. I refuse on moral grounds. I'm not going to do it.
I agree with you 100%.
How could you make your mouth do that?
I saw some movies. Well, first of all, I finished up Nathan For You, finally. Like, I ended in season 3 and all that shit. I cannot recommend that show enough. It is one of the best shows on television right now. Like, top 3 probably for me. Fantastic show. Oh my god, just pick an episode and watch it. It doesn't even matter. I love it.
I started it. It's cool.
It's great. It's fantastic. I love it. All right, I watched. Let me just start fucking talking about these movies I watched. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The second one.
That's
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I couldn't remember which one was which because both of those things kind of mean the same thing. The stupidest titles in the world. All right. Thought it was going to be a good movie. Like, for the first 15, 20 minutes, I was really digging it. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be a movie that I liked. For the first 15 or 20 minutes, I was digging it. I liked the first movie quite a bit, actually. And the first remake movie, the first modern one. And this one started out strong. You've got, like, the humans and the apes, and they don't really know each other exist that much. They don't know anything about each other, and they stumble across one of the humans stumbles across a couple of the apes in the woods, and they have a confrontation. The human shoots one of the apes. Everyone freaks out, and so you've got like this escalating conflict going on where they have different perspectives on each other, and like neither of them are guilty. You know, like it's kind of neither side is the bad guys, and you feel like it's kind of there's inevitably going to be a war, but that it's not going to be caused by anyone doing something wrong. And I liked that idea as a concept. And then they introduce, the first human they introduce is a really dumb, racist basically. And he freaks out about the apes and he wants to kill the apes. And he's the one that shot the ape in the beginning. And he's very clearly a dude that you don't want around the apes if you're trying to make peace with the apes. And so they send out a diplomatic mission.
Is that Gary Oldman, or is that somebody else?
It's someone else. It's a bald.
I've only seen the trailers and Gary Oldman's.
I like Gary Oldman. He's one of the interesting characters of the movie. But no, this guy's not interesting. He's just the dude who is kind of dumb and reactionary. And so they choose, for whatever reason, to bring him along on their diplomatic mission to to make peace with the apes. And
Makes perfect sense.
sure enough, he fucks it up because he doesn't trust the apes. And even though they don't want him to have guns, he sneaks a gun in, and then they find out, etc., etc. Meanwhile, they introduce another ape on the other side who's basically the same character in reverse, and he sneaks into the humans' base and shoots the humans. It's just the whole plot is driven forward by stupid people doing stupid things and bad things, when it really could be like this really interesting dynamic of kind of an examination of how war starts between two countries or nations or peoples who neither one of them want war, but it inevitably happens. Instead, it's just kind of like, oh well, the idiot shot the other idiot, and now there's a war. Of course, I was so disappointed.
I haven't seen the movie, but it sounds not unlike border skirmishes, like jumpy soldiers.
I'm not saying that,
making dumb decisions.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen it.
It's
but
not.
The premise sounds that way.
It's not like an unrealistic premise. It's just an uninteresting premise. Like wars do start in stupid ways like that, but that's not an interesting story to me. Like it just kind of implied that it was going to start an interesting story, and then it very quickly devolved into a much more, not even a stupid story, but a story driven by stupid characters, which I hate. I always hate that. And then like people just throughout the movie keep making stupid decisions. The humans have a little stronghold. They've got walls and barbed wire and stuff, and they have an armory with a shit ton of weapons, but it's outside of their stronghold in a separate building. And so when the apes decide to attack the humans, spoilers, they just run into the armory and kill like 2 people, and they have all the guns. And so that was stupid. And then the humans get in a tank. They leave the hatch open. They're surrounded by chimps, genius chimps. They leave the hatch open in the tank, and a chimp jumps into the tank.
Jumping on shit is like the one thing they're good at.
Yeah. And they're doing it all over the place, and they leave the hatch open, and shit like that. Just little things that add up. And I liked the first movie a lot, and I enjoyed this movie. Like, it was just enjoyable, but it was not great. And then you have a cool battle between 2 of the apes at the end, and it's very much like the lightsaber duel in episode 3 of Star Wars that lasts forever, and it even comes down to both of them swinging on chains and swiping at each other. It's fuck that movie.
Well,
okay.
Well, I saw the first one. I thought that was okay.
I liked it. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
watch
great.
The second one.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a waste of your time. It's enjoyable, but it's shallower than I wanted it to be, and it's especially shallow in comparison to the first movie. But you
really? Oh, do you mean like the original Planet of the Apes?
Well, the original, even the original new movie,
the James Franco one.
Yeah. I thought that one had some interesting
like that one
stuff.
much.
I liked it. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay.
It wasn't perfect or anything, but I liked it. I didn't like this one as much.
Well, it wasn't written by Aaron Sorkin, so I'm gonna have to give it 2 thumbs down.
That's true. So yeah, I don't know. I don't hate the movie. I just hate that my expectations of it were so quickly, like, it built expectations and then very quickly ruined those, and continued to ruin that expectation, and I couldn't get over it, which is kind of my problem at the same time. But still, they shouldn't have led me on like that.
Okay.
So I also watched two Marvel movies. I don't know why I was compelled, but I watched Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy.
What did you think?
They were fine. They were superhero movies that were okay. People raved about Guardians of the Galaxy, and people were very positive about Ant-Man, and they were just the same. I haven't left since Iron Man 1. I haven't left a Marvel movie with anything other than going, yeah, all right, that was a movie. I cannot continue.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
And every time one comes out, people say, well, this is the one that's different from all the others. But they're never different. They're never different. The Guardians of the Galaxy was a little bit funnier than usual, but not that much. Ant-Man, I guess, was different because it was smaller scale and was like literally and figuratively.
Ant-Man was kind of clever. action-wise, in a
Action-wise,
way that
the action
most
scenes of
Marvel
Ant-Man were
movies
good.
aren't.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, for the most part, it's still just a competent superhero movie.
yeah. Competent. That's
It's
the
not
best way to put it.
really the next big thing that's changing Marvel
And it
forever.
doesn't have to be the next big thing, but the way that people talk about both those movies, especially, is that they're different.
Guardians of the Galaxy, especially.
Yeah, people raved about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I don't get
I
it
like
at
Ant-Man
all. I
more.
thought it was fine, but I don't get the raving at all. It's just, it was like the Avengers, but funnier to me. It's just whatever. And
That's a good description of it.
yeah, and Ant-Man was. I think people also kind of ruined my expectation of Ant-Man a little bit because people told me it was like a heist movie, and I understand that it's kind of like a heist movie, but the plot didn't make enough sense for the heist to be satisfying.
Yeah.
Did you get that impression?
Yeah, and the villain fucked ass.
Yeah, and like, why did the heist need to happen? Like, why couldn't they just blow it up? I don't know. Forget it. He brings a tank in on a keychain. Why not bring huge? Why not fill the tank with C4 and bring it in on the keychain and then blow up the whole thing? Whatever, man. I also saw Wolf of Wall Street.
That's a good movie.
It is a pretty good movie. I don't love it. The first time I watched it, I was pretty. I don't know. I was like, it's not as good as, like, obviously not as good as like Goodfellas, but it's in that same style, so I couldn't help but compare it to Goodfellas. But it was good. I liked it a lot more this time.
It was a lot more fun than I thought it would
Yeah,
be.
I liked it a lot more this time, I think, because this is all about my expectations and whether a movie meets them or not. But I think, like, the second time I watched it, I went in with, the knowledge of how it was the first time I watched it, and so I could enjoy it a little more because it's a much more just kind of casual movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Not serious. It's still weird sometimes. Like, the characters, I think they do a lot of improv. Like, they let the actors do a lot of improv or something, because there's one scene in particular where they're talking about women shaving their pubes, and one of the actors is kind of stifling a laugh the whole time, but his character shouldn't be like, they're trying to be serious. And I'm cool with improv, and I like people cracking up and stuff, but it's just, it feels off in that kind of movie where it feels like it should be a little more serious, I guess. And then the edits during those kinds of scenes would be really off-putting because characters would be in completely different, like, they would move from one angle to the next, and a character would be in a completely different position than they were before. It feels like something went kind of wrong in the editing room in that movie. It's very bizarre to me.
I didn't notice that much.
I couldn't help but
It's
notice
been a while
it. I
since
don't
I've
know
seen
why.
it, though. It was like a year and a half ago, but
But that's little stuff, and it doesn't bother me. And in fact, it kind of makes it more interesting to watch because I started thinking of, like, okay, what happened
do you mean
here?
the scene when he's like describing the steps of how to pull their skin, if you want to call it that?
It's a lot of different
scenes. Is that what
scenes.
you're talking about? Okay.
Particularly scenes where there's like, okay, there's one where they're thinking about hiring the midget, and the conversation just escalates into a completely bizarre thing where I can't tell if the characters are supposed to be joking or if the actors are trying to joke while acting like the characters are being serious. I couldn't figure out where the sarcasm or the irony or the joking, where the line was. Like, was it in the actual plot, or was it the actors making a joke of the characters? I couldn't figure it out.
I'm just gonna have to take your word for this and assume that it's a very minor thing because I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
It's minor, but I got caught up on it. I look it up on YouTube. Look up, like, the midget hiring scene. I don't know. I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube. And, like, think about it being improv and pay attention to the cuts. It's the weirdest thing in the world. The cuts, just like the characters will be way different. I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe I'm getting caught up on really little things, but that's what I kept noticing throughout the movie. But I do like it. It's a pretty good movie. It's a little long, but it's fine. Speaking of long,
It's an endurance challenge.
what did you think of The Hateful Eight?
Okay, I loved The Hateful Eight. I really liked
I think I loved it too. I don't know. It's not like it didn't blow me away, but
I'm not gonna say half, but a lot of it was just the experience.
Yeah.
And to describe, it is an experience.
definitely.
When you buy your ticket, I don't know if they did this for you, but I'm assuming they did. Right now, it's only out in 70 millimeter showings. You can't just go to your theater and see the digital projection of it. It's in certain theaters, sometimes only like one per state, and it's projected in 70 millimeters, which is super wide, super high resolution, and
Ultra Panavision.
yeah, ultra Panavision.
Did you read
70
about? So
millimeter.
I started reading all about like
They give you a booklet,
what it
a
is.
booklet with your ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you read about like the anamorphic lens and how they're using up the whole film, they're not having to crop out the film; they're just widening it with a lens that's oval shaped. I think that's really interesting. But yeah, I got really into
the technical stuff of it was really cool. But just so you didn't actually answer. Did they give you a book with your ticket?
Yeah, they did. I think
Okay.
you pretty much get the same experience throughout. Everyone's got the intermission and all that stuff. So
Which poster did you have in the middle of your book?
do you get different
I got
posters?
the cow puncher. Yeah, every booklet has a different character as the centerfold.
I don't think
I really wanted Marquis, but I didn't get him.
I think my centerfold was the sheriff. I think it was him with a lantern.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
So okay, back to the experience.
Yeah.
The movie starts, you just get 5 minutes of a title card that says Overture.
Yeah.
And the main theme of the movie plays.
And that theme is so good.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't realize. So
music.
all the hubbub that I heard about this movie was the 70 millimeter. I didn't realize that he composed the music specifically for this movie. That was huge to me. Like that was a bigger deal than the 70 millimeter, and I didn't know until I sat down and started reading the playbook.
The music was incredible.
Yeah, it was really good. The first half where they're like, it's the building tension music, and when they're out in the blizzard and stuff, and it's just, holy shit, that music is intense and it's loud and just, that's an experience.
Yeah, and the movie's just beautiful. Like the film, I read somewhere, picks up whites some different way.
I noticed.
I don't know how.
Yeah, I didn't read so I don't know. I don't know the details of like what actually the difference between film and digital is, as far as like all I know is film is higher resolution and that colors and stuff can appear differently, but people claim that digital is objectively like a wider color spectrum. But I noticed that especially the whites, and he filmed with all that snow and shit, so it's very noticeable. The bright light was so much brighter, and I think a lot of it had to do with like the camera. Like the camera would have every once in a while like a lens flare kind of thing going on with it, and it looked extremely authentic. Like it didn't look like the lens flare in Star Trek was made using an actual lens. I think like it's not digitally enhanced or anything, but there's something more authentic about the way it looks in this movie, where it just looks like a flaw, but not a detriment to the movie, but it looks unintentional in a way that
it
was
looks like
actually
an
really
artifact
appealing
of it being filmed.
Yeah, and like if there was so they would also have like bright spikes of sunlight going in through the cabin and like on a table or something, and that would make a kind of glow in the film, I guess, where it just you could tell it was on film. You could tell it was filmed on film and projected on film. That was really neat. And I think I even think the darks were darker. That's what I said on Twitter, is that like the brights seemed brighter, the darks seemed darker, and the flicker of the like on a digital watching, especially like movies with a lot of CG, and I don't know why CG would have anything to do with it at all, but I've just noticed that like watching the Avengers or something, when the camera is moving, like if it's panning at a steady rate, my eyes get caught up on the frame rate, and it's kind of headache inducing. And that never happened in this movie, and there's a lot of scenes where the camera will be moving and stuff, and I never noticed that jitter that I do even though it's the same frame rate. There's something about the way, I guess, the way that frame rate works. I don't know. I have no idea why it felt easier on the eyes, but it did.
It was a gorgeous movie, and the fact that they advertise the experience and that it's something that hasn't been done in years, and I was totally able to buy into the experience of watching that movie.
Yeah.
And that I don't know. The movie itself I also loved, but that just made it that much more fun.
Did you look up and see the projector? Mine looked like, I don't know. They're probably all different projectors because they probably just found them where they could. But mine looked like it was straight out of the '60s. Like it was like that blue color, and it was just huge and it was legit.
There was like this. It wasn't like super noticeable. But if
Yeah.
I looked at the very, very like top of the screen, there was like some rough edges
Oh yeah.
where you could actually tell that it was a physical thing.
Yeah, there was a line on the right side of the screen that would kind of jitter a little bit every once in a while. There was like something being caught in the film or something.
It
Yeah,
was cool.
that stuff is neat. And
And
the title cards kind of jittering was when I was like, okay, cool, I'm into this. Like this feels legit.
and like so the movie's extremely long.
Yes,
It's almost 3 hours long.
I think it's more than 3
But
hours.
they give you an intermission. It's so merciful. Like I didn't feel long because they let me take a piss.
And the
come back,
intermission
and it was
comes
nice.
at that perfect moment. And I don't want to spoil anything about the movie, so I won't say like even what makes that moment perfect. But Tarantino plays with your expectations of like what a Tarantino film includes. You know what to expect from that. He knows that and makes the movie with those expectations in mind. I feel like, and it pays off a lot in this one. And have you seen Reservoir Dogs?
I have.
This is apparently a pretty rare opinion, but that's one of my favorite Tarantino movies.
I like that one a lot.
I like the fact that it almost all takes place in the warehouse, and it's the characters trying to figure out who's the rat, and there's that tension between every single character. I love that, and that is it's like this is honestly like plot wise, this is very very similar to Reservoir Dogs, and I knew that going in, and I was very excited for it, and it met my expectations. I was happy with it. Good movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say anything about the plot, but it's one of his best written movies, both on a dialogue level, on like a structure theme level.
Yeah.
I think the story itself really worked for me.
Yeah, I didn't
and I don't
like.
really even want to say what story was, but
No, I'm never. I don't go into Tarantino movies for the story. I've never.
yeah,
He's a very indulgent director, you know, and I never feel like his stories are that meaningful, really, beyond the point of like it's very meta, I guess, because it seems like he likes to confront the audience a lot, and I like that. But I go for the dialogue and the directing for those movies, and that's what this movie gave me. The plot was fine. It was whatever. I liked it, but
I disagree. I don't think it was whatever. This, more so than most of his movies, left me full at the end.
right.
Like, I think it reached the ending especially. It felt totally complete and just.
Yeah.
I don't want to breathe a word about what happens. Just go see it. You got to see it. If you can, see it right now in 70 millimeter. That's the best way to see it. But if you can't, if you're not living in the United States, or if there's too far away from you, some people have to drive like 4 or 5 hours just to get to a theater that's showing it in this format.
I felt really lucky.
If you can, do it.
I didn't plan to go see 70 millimeter until Sunday, and I went and saw the movie last night, and I didn't even know it was showing in Birmingham because I assumed Birmingham wasn't a big enough city because I heard there was only like 98 cities in the U.S. It's the only city in Alabama that has the movie playing in 70 millimeter, and it's only like 20 minutes away from me, so that was a nice surprise for me.
Mine was only like 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm really happy I got to experience that. Very very good. Very. You're right. It leaves you full in multiple meanings. All right. Star Wars.
Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
What'd you think?
I liked it.
I also liked it.
Uh,
All right, news.
well,
I don't know.
I went into it expecting the J.J. Abrams treatment
Yeah.
on Star Wars. That's what it was. It was probably his best produced movie, obviously. You could tell that this is one thing I noticed quickly, and just so that I'm not reiterating what everyone said about it, that it's the Star Wars you like, and it's not the prequels, and it's finally good again, and, you know, old, new generation, family, blah, blah. One little thing I noticed is how precisely considered the edits and scene transitions were. Like, it felt like it was scientifically crafted to just cut at the right time and wipe out. They do like those circular
Yeah,
fades.
the ones that they
And
did in all the
they
other
all
movies.
seem like exactly placed. Like there was a little wisp of smoke I noticed that was kind of circular, and
Hmm.
then they did a circular wipe out from there.
And they'll do
And
it with
they,
doors opening and closing and stuff.
yeah, you can, and not just for the editing, but just the overall production, you can tell that this movie had a ton of money put into making it like, I don't want to say perfect, but well crafted. It's
Yeah.
a very well crafted movie.
And so my expectation was, yeah, J.J. Abrams treatment, that you know what to expect, basically Star Trek. But I was expecting it to be more okay than good, and I came away thinking it exceeded my expectations a whole lot.
Mine too.
I
Even though my expectations were good J.J. Abrams Star Wars, and it was better than that, or than what I thought it was going to be, even if
Yeah,
just by a little bit.
I was gonna be shaking my shoulders leaving the theater is what I thought, but then I ended up, I actually saw the movie twice, just because there was a friend in town that we needed an excuse to do something, and so I was like, fuck it, I'll
Right.
see the movie again. But yeah, it was just as enjoyable the second time, and I was totally willing to watch it again. So I yeah, I there's not much I don't like about that movie, which is important. Like I really have to nitpick to find things that I don't like, and it's stuff that isn't really that important. Like I don't like the callbacks to the originals, where like
I didn't
it
care.
focuses on like the little chessboard game in the Millennium Falcon for like 10 seconds for no reason, and it's like, look, it's the thing that you saw in the movie, and that
Yeah,
was that shit like that was just like distracting. But that's,
I
again,
didn't care
so
about that
nitpicky. I don't blame
because
you for not caring about
it's
it.
been, not only because it's not important, but if you, I know it felt like, because of all the hype
Hype.
for Star Wars Force Awakens, it's easy to forget that those old movies came out like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, in in a series, I think it's been enough time where they can get away with some of that.
Yeah, they were gonna do it, especially J.J. Abrams, because of the way he did it in Star
Yeah,
Trek
and the stuff
constantly.
that they did was tasteful. It wasn't
For
anything
the
like,
most part, yeah, I
yeah,
agree. And I ended up not even really minding that much that it was basically the plot to Episode 4. um, but that was a little bit odd, but I accepted it because right at the beginning they kind of established that he like gives the droid the
hmm,
map or the plans or whatever, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be Episode 4. That's fine, whatever. Um, I didn't mind that at all. And the things that I thought would bother me ended up not bothering me, like the way that
can we
the
just give like a blanket light spoilers? It's been out a
who
while.
gives a shit.
If you care, you've probably seen it. Just whatever.
Also, spoilers. It's the plot to Episode 4. Um, but I thought that I thought I'd be. I didn't expect to like the New Order. Is it the New Order? Is that what they call
It's
it?
the
First Order. The
first
First Order.
order, which is weird because it's
That
like the
is
third order now.
totally backwards. But I thought that I would kind of. I expected the stormtroopers to just be people and kind of humanize it a little bit, almost like humanize the Empire side of things, because you've got the black guy in the stormtrooper outfit that everyone was freaking out about, and I
Hmm.
thought that it was going to bother me if they humanized any of the stormtroopers, because the stormtroopers are supposed to be these like faceless enemies that's what's
Yeah.
so scary about them. I ended up really liking the way they treated that, though, of him defecting, and Finn became my favorite character of the
Oh, I
movie.
loved him.
Yeah,
I
and
was surprised by how well he acted.
oh, he was great.
He was really good in
I
that
think
movie.
he was the best part of the movie, and he kind of held it together because he's
He was
he's the
energetic.
constant.
He was sincere. He wasn't annoying.
Yeah, yeah, totally, and legitimately funny. All the jokes.
Yeah.
That's another thing I didn't expect to like, is that I was laughing out loud, um, uh, even at things that. So like when I saw C-3PO, my instant reaction was, "Oh, come on!" Like I didn't want them to bring back. Maybe this wasn't something that maybe everyone knew
Mm.
that this was going to happen, but I didn't, and I was kind of like, "All right, stop bringing back characters." But the way that they introduced him was hilarious. I loved that, and I don't know. Yeah, Han Solo was his same self. He wasn't like, it wasn't fucking uh, Harrison Ford phoning it in. That's
Yeah,
another thing
he
I kind of
seemed to
expected.
care. That was
Yeah.
nice. He put
So
effort in.
God, yeah, I I liked it a lot. I liked the pseudoscience of everything that just it didn't care that it didn't make much sense. And Kylo Ren's great too.
Kylo Ren felt like he was exactly what they were trying to make Anakin character conflict-wise in the prequels, except they did it well and in one movie.
I haven't thought about
in
that.
like 5 minutes
right.
of one movie.
Yeah,
but he's kind of the same type of character, but just so much more
not annoying. Like he's kind of he's legitimately unlikable, and I've heard a lot of people complain that he's not intimidating. Like he takes off his mask and you're like, he's just kind of like a dude.
That was
I liked
kind
that.
of worked.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked that he's just a dude who's turning to the dark side, and that he's not actually that. He's kind of on an even playing field almost. Like he's not as mysterious and intimidating as Darth Vader. He is to the characters who just see him in his mask and he's scary, but then he takes off his mask and he's humanized. And that's another thing where I was like, this seems like it shouldn't work, but it does. Really satisfying.
One of the things I didn't like about the movie was the big Sith guy, Lord Snoke. Was that his name?
Snoke, Emperor Snoke.
Emperor Snoke. He looked like a big cartoon, computerized, animated thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted a person, really. It was just, I don't know. Everything else was so on point that he kind of stuck out.
Yeah, I agree. He did stick out, but there wasn't very much of him in the movie. I feel like maybe they can redeem it, when he actually becomes a major player.
Hopefully.
I liked when he was revealed as a hologram. That was a cool moment.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, this is really stupid, and then he disappears, and you're like, oh, I get it now.
That was good. He's gonna be tiny. He's gonna be.
I want him to be like ridiculously small. Yeah.
Ant-Man size.
Yeah. But yeah.
One thing that it's not really a problem. It just kind of bugs me, and I felt the same way about Halo 4, even though it is a better sequel than Halo 4 was.
Yes.
But like. At the end of Halo 3, the Covenant had kind of fallen apart and disbanded. And then in Halo 4, they're just back
the Covenant again.
And they don't say anything about it. Where did the First Order come from? What?
You saw it in the scrolling. They came from the remnants of the Empire.
But that's stupid.
Yeah. I don't know.
They defeated the Empire. That was kind of the idea.
They defeated the Emperor and they blew up the Death Star. Yeah. I can believe that. So I do agree, though, especially at the beginning. I thought they were establishing that this was a ragtag group of Empire, loyalists, especially when like
most extremo, biggest, expensive.
Yeah, especially the first scene of the movie. In episode 4, you're introduced with the rebel ship and then the huge Empire ship following, and it's like, oh, look how crazy and overpowering the Empire is. And in this one, you get a similar shot of it moving across the planet, which is a great shot. And then those little drop ships come out, and it does the inside of the drop ships, and like the lights are blinking and stuff, and then they come on. I thought I took that as establishing that they were kind of thrown together, that like maybe the drop ships were actually just blinking the lights and stuff. But then it turned out, no, actually I still don't understand, like, how powerful was the Republic? How powerful was the First Order? Why was there like a rebellion group if the Republic was the enemies?
They call them Republic and the Rebels.
They're two different factions.
Really
it's the Republic and it's not rebels. They used the word resistance. Resistance. And then they said that Republic supported the Resistance, but it just felt like that it should be Republic versus the First Order. But again, this is kind of minor.
They're minor things, but they just help you situate yourself in the world, and all it would have taken is a sentence in the scrolling text. Like, I just wanted to know where we start.
Well, it was kind of surprising because they intentionally
look like.
They intentionally left things open. They left Rey's backstory open. You don't know why she is where she is and is who she is. And then they left the whole story of the First Order and everything open enough that maybe they'll explore it in the sequels, or maybe they want to give that same kind of effect that I guess Episode 4 did, which is like, oh, you're entering in medias res or whatever. You're right in the middle of the story, and you're supposed to be a little bit discombobulated. But yeah, it felt more like you're just kind of going,
it makes
what?
it harder.
Yeah.
Because it makes it tough to do that because we know what happens before. We have 6 movies that happened before this.
Yeah.
And then it seems like none of them really mattered.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not that big a deal, but it brings me back to Snoke. Like, where the fuck did he come from?
Who is he? Yeah.
I don't get him. They're gonna obviously tell us more as it goes on, but those were minor issues.
Very
overall.
minor. Yeah.
Really
I didn't expect them to. So I know like Disney's been kind of distancing themselves from the prequels. They didn't reference them at all in this movie except once, which was they show Coruscant, and it looks like Coruscant from the prequels, and then 5 seconds later it explodes.
Yeah,
it felt like a fuck
I
you.
chuckled a little bit. That was the only prequel looking location.
Yeah,
in the movie, and it was just immediately destroyed.
Yeah,
I really liked the way that the Death Star thing kind of shotgunned off into different.
I was laughing out loud at parts
really
that I
cool.
shouldn't have been laughing out loud. That was cool, and I was laughing too. I was just laughing. I couldn't help it. It was just funny to me. A lot of like the serious dramatic scenes were funny to me, but not in like I'm a making fun of it way, but just kind of I'm enjoying the movie, and this is kind of dumb, but I like it. And also the lightsaber duel was, I think, the best lightsaber duel in all the movies.
Yeah, they felt like actual weapons that weighed something.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get hit by them. I especially loved all it took. I don't care about the design of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. It's not consistent with the way the crystals work and all the extended. None of that matters. Just the fact that he put it to minor use and twisted it a little bit into Finn's shoulder. That was enough to just sell me. Okay, you've totally justified the shape of that.
Yeah, and I liked
totally fine now.
I liked how his it wasn't just a red saber; it was crackling and sparking, and it had imperfections. It was cool.
Like that too.
Yeah,
I thought that was just the new look of the lasery stuff in this one, but then when Luke's lightsaber was perfectly smooth, it was like, okay, that's a neat touch.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. A lot of people had an issue with how Rey learned her force powers without being trained or anything, but I thought it was nice. I liked it. At this
point, I'm stealing this directly from the half in the bag on this.
Sure.
So, but Mike on that show pointed out something I kind of forgot, that it's only in the prequels where Jedi training is like you go to a school when you're 2 and swing a stick around for a class full of toddlers. Like, Luke receives basically no training other than like some words and the bot thing.
Yeah.
It's still not like what makes him a Jedi. It's more of a spiritual thing.
But he does,
which is more what it was like in this.
He does accomplish those things after at least some amount of legit training, no matter how it was very, very short.
Well, Empire is where his most important training happens. And it's less about him practicing and more of him just understanding some things. And so I was okay with her just stumbling upon certain things intuitively.
I was more than okay with it. I liked it a lot.
That's really what the Force is about.
I liked it a lot because I felt like Kylo Ren unintentionally trained her by doing the mind read stuff on her.
Yeah,
and that
awesome.
she was unintentionally reading his mind just because, I don't know, Force mind meld, who gives a shit? And so when she reads his mind, she learns, oh, here's the things that that you can do with the Force, kind of, and she just kind of experiments with it. I liked that, and I liked the couple of moments where she, realized that she can do something, and it played the music and all that. It was well done, and that and the Millennium Falcon chase scene towards the beginning were my favorite, like, very Star Wars-y scenes. Like scenes like that exist in every movie, but it did those so well. Ever. Yeah, and the TIE Fighter escape scene was great.
The freezing of the bolt, I don't know if you want to call it a bullet, in midair.
Oh yeah,
that was just
cool.
awesome.
Yeah,
it's a cool movie.
Yep.
I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was, even though I
So
thought it was going to be good.
go see Star Wars.
Yeah, we know that you probably hadn't even heard of that movie, but
little bit of a
comes with our
little bit of obscure
recommendation.
film knowledge from our video game podcast.
You have our we know is what you've been waiting for.
All right. Anything else? Anything else to mention before we move on? Oh, I'm making a year in review video. Are you?
Yeah. Yes, and mine will probably be January 1st or 2nd, because I cannot edit on this computer.
Yeah, that'll still probably be sooner than mine.
A new laptop.
Mine's going to be late. I'm busy right now and for the near future, and I'm trying to get in some editing while I can, but I've still only got like less than a minute edited. So yeah, it'll I don't know. It probably won't be. It's going to be a very simple video, I think, because I just don't have the time to like edit anything interesting, anything like off the wall. I'm just going to do like a standard, like, here's the games I play. Also, I have a list of the games that I thought of that I want to mention, and I'll just list off all these games, because this is just a reminder of how crazy 2015 was. Witcher 3, Just Cause 3, Metal Gear Solid 5, Bloodborne, Elite Dangerous, Fallout 4, Hotline Miami 2, Human Resource Machine, Project Cars, Cities Skylines, Kerbal Space Program, Grow Home, Grand Theft Auto 5 PC, Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I don't think that was this year, but it was the remake thing this year or whatever. But yeah, those are the games that I want to mention alone, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to include them all. And I played more than that, and a whole lot more than that came out. It's been a hell of a year. And also, most of those are good, like great games, and I think all of them are good games. So, awesome.
Yeah, I have to think about what games I've played. I've just been very, very busy. This is my first day in like half a month maybe, where I've had like a Surface that I can put a computer on. Like, I've just been not in the digital at all. Just been being a regular person in the family. I'm excited to go back to wasting my life and editing videos. And, yeah.
All right.
I think we can probably talk about a couple of the standouts when we get to it, but
let's get the one piece of news out of the way, which it'll be real quick. You go ahead.
Singular hap.
Yeah, the hap.
What's the hap? The hap is that Steam was compromised. I don't think we really know what happened. Valve hasn't said anything about it.
The initial news report said a denial of service, but I think that might have just been speculation. Are you there?
That doesn't seem like the whole story, because
Sorry, you lagged.
Is it fine now?
Right now it is.
Okay. So what happened was, if you went into Steam, you had access for like a certain period of time, I believe on Christmas, you had access to a random person's account information, where you could see like their purchases, and I don't know how much personal information you could see, but it was not a pleasant amount.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
It wasn't like full credit card details or anything, because by law you have to censor that on the, like, you can never see your own credit card number in full on any web page.
You can only see like last 4 digits or so. But that itself is not okay.
And I think you could buy games too.
I think an hour or so.
You could buy games. They would go on that account, not your own. But you could buy games on other people's accounts, and it'll, now they have those games. I'm sure that got sorted out by Valve, or is in the process of getting sorted out. But yeah, pretty bad. There's always a Christmas disaster in the video game world.
Yeah, I think there was 2, right? Wasn't PSN hacked too? Probably.
Last year it was Xbox Live. I don't know if it was hacked or if it just went down from a lot of use, but yeah. So it's just every year it's something. But you know what? That's what you get for playing video games on Christmas. Spend time with your family. You fucking ungrateful assholes.
But this is the funny thing, though. You don't even have to play video games on Christmas. Somebody else could just be you on Christmas.
Yeah, I think for it to be a problem, again, this was word on the street while it was happening, but people were saying it only happens if you log in. Like, if you log in, that makes your account vulnerable. But I don't know.
I was
Whatever.
not on him at the time, so
Whatever.
I'm
If
sorry.
I
It's
gotta
fixable.
admit, if I got on someone else's account, I would have to buy some like $1 or less like anime game or something, just because I think that'd be funny, but also mean
I
and
I
illegal. Well, I can't hear a word you're
want to do
saying.
that.
You said something about
Well,
not doing that. You're mortally above me. Fine.
fuck it. Yeah, I am. Everybody
Um.
knows that.
Okay.
I renamed this podcast. If you can
This
see the
episode?
title. Yeah, I renamed it. It's the Push Your Shit Lagcast.
Wow.
Just so people
I think
know
it's
what
perfect.
they're getting into.
Um. Push a shout. 2015 meme cast.
Yeah, you can see the dress. What do you think? Tell us what you think.
I thought it was the correct colors the whole time, like the objectively correct colors. So
Good answer.
fuck everyone else.
So you thought it was white and gold.
All right, let's talk about our favorite games of the year and our absolute favorites and some honorable mentions. I just want to chat. I want to reminisce.
For me, it's got to be Undertale and The Witcher 3 are my two best games of the year.
Witcher 3 is my favorite.
I'm probably going to give it to Undertale.
Witcher 3 is my favorite.
I got my little cousin into Witcher 3, and he's getting into it too.
Really? I've got a friend who I'm trying to get into it who liked Morrowind, and I was like, trust me, you'll like this. All right, let me look through real quick. Yeah.
Witcher 3 has just been awesome. I'm excited for that laptop to come. One, so I can make the damn video, but also so I can just play more Witcher 3.
Yeah. This summer, I knew that it was going to be down to Witcher 3 or Metal Gear Solid 5, and the only reason that Witcher 3 takes it is because it doesn't have any glaring issues like Metal Gear Solid 5 did. Because I
Metal Gear Solid 5
loved.
is completely dead to me.
I understand
It's not in
that,
contention.
but I 100% disagree. Metal Gear Solid 5 is still one of my favorite games of all time, just because of the gameplay alone. Just take out the story completely, and that game is amazing. As an action stealth game, it is incredible, and I love it. I don't necessarily want to play any more of it, and I wish that the story wasn't what it was, but it's still a phenomenal game and probably my second favorite of the year, despite how much I hate the story.
It is okay. I'm not gonna say that it's like the worst game of the year, because you just can't deny how good the video game that you play with your hands is. But it's far and away the biggest disappointment of the year.
Yeah, I would agree there too. I would agree that it's it's one of my favorite games and one of my biggest disappointments or definitely my biggest disappointment of the year by far. It's my biggest disappointment in probably gaming history. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I've never really walked away from a game. It's sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt that way about Skyrim, I guess. But I also wasn't as surprised with Skyrim because I'd already played through Oblivion and Fallout 3, and I kind of knew what to expect. But I still wanted it to be good. I remember thinking Black Ops was going to be this great game and ended up not liking it at all. That was back before Call of Duty was universally hated because it was done so much. It was.
Right. That was like Modern Warfare was still newish, right?
Modern Warfare was still
Ops,
good. I don't remember if that was
Warfare 2.
before Modern Warfare 2 or after Modern Warfare 2, but Modern Warfare 2 was a great game too. So either way,
I forgot about World at War. But that's
World at War was not great, and I never actually played it, so I didn't really care. But I heard such good things about Black Ops, and I remember buying it for full price and playing through the campaign and just thinking it was not that great, and never getting into the multiplayer either. And that was when Call of Duty was dead to me. But yeah,
those games.
Go ahead.
Is it fucking up again? Jesus
it's always
Christ.
fucking up, man. This is the Lagcast. Ever since you renamed it.
This is so bad. Well, those two games were exactly what I expect they would be. I knew I was getting a Bethesda RPG with Skyrim. I'd played Oblivion. I knew I was going to get a silly, bombastic campaign in Black Ops.
But I wanted a good silly.
What I thought they would be. This was so different from what I was expecting.
Yeah.
so much worse than what I was expecting. That man, it's just it could have been so much.
It was all
As
my
people who watched my
fears.
video on that,
It was all my
I don't
fears
know.
about the game. Like I was already kind of afraid of it being not that much story, kind of an empty game. And I was afraid of it having kind of a weird, dumb twist with the main character, and that all ended up being true in the worst possible way, and like to an extent that I didn't ever even imagine. But I don't know. Gameplay wise, it still exceeded my expectations.
I didn't care so much about the emptiness. Like I would have appreciated way less story if they and there's not much that you can even subtract from it as it is.
If what was
But
there was not so in your face bad, then yeah,
yeah,
it would be way more easy to swallow. But it would still be a huge disappointment because it's
it
it's Metal
would.
Gear Solid. You
But
don't
I
expect it
would
to be empty.
it would be totally within acceptable, I don't know, bounds
Yeah, just because
if
the game's so good.
if the conclusion of the series was just a perfect gameplay experience
Yeah,
with minimal story. Like that would have been fine, and
yeah,
it would have I wouldn't have sad memories of it.
yep. You kind of cringe every time you hear it or even see like Big Boss, except not Big Boss, the medic. God damn.
I will have to give, or not give, fuck it. My favorite game was Undertale, though. Like that's the one I enjoyed the most.
I still,
Um,
I'm still just I liked Undertale a lot, but I'm still just kind of I'm not in love with it. It's just a good game.
well,
That's my
we'll have to
opinion.
agree to disagree
I'm
on that
sticking with it.
because
Uh,
I think it's awesome. I really love
I
that
heard some
game.
people talking about it that I thought made a good point that I never really realized about the game that I think forms part of what I didn't love about it is that first of all you've got the art style which is obviously emulating that era of RPG,
Yeah,
which I was okay with, but I still think that's just an objectively ugly art style, and I don't have any nostalgic, love for that art style at all. It's just
really.
ugly to me.
You must have had a sad childhood, sir.
Um,
Because those games were like, by that I mean just pixelated RPGs from that time
yeah,
were some of my favorite games, and Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite games, and those are I grew up on those games.
yeah.
Paper Mario, like those kind of humorous RPGs, I loved those as a kid.
I didn't really
And
get
this
into
like
an RPG.
scratch itch that I had forgotten I had. It
Yeah,
was really really nice to
I
get
didn't
back
get I
into.
didn't really get into an RPG until I guess Morrowind, and that was well after RPGs had changed drastically from what they were then. So I just yeah, it's just never been a part of my gaming world. So I don't have that advantage going for me. And then the music, so it's one of the best soundtracks of the year, and I would totally let someone argue that it is the best soundtrack, although it has a ton of competition. But that style of music, the chiptune or whatever you want to call it, is grating on my ears to the point where I can't listen to it outside of the game for very long. Do you know what I mean? Even though I like it a
Yeah,
lot, I can't listen to it. Like I don't put it on in my car or anything like that because it's just like
yeah, I see what you
it's
mean.
too much.
I get. I'm more tolerant of that style in general, but
Yeah,
I'd also say that this is more like MIDI than chiptune for the most
whatever. I
part. You have
don't know
some
the
that are straight
difference.
up chiptune, but others are like kind of electronic instruments that are clearly artificial, but not totally like, you know, you
Faithful
get
to
some,
yeah.
yeah, like the song when you're on the, you got the jetpack and it's that little twangy guitar and it's
I
very
love that.
obviously digital,
Yeah.
but it was really nice.
I loved that music. I loved it, and I wish that it was soft enough on my ears that I could listen to it more than I do. But I can't. Like I start listening to it and I go ugh. Like I'm putting one of the Undertale spoilers for my video. I'm putting one of the Undertale songs in my video and listening to it over and over again. Like I actually have to like turn down the volume and kind of go because it like actually starts to physically
Which
hurt my
song?
ears.
How is it this grating?
It is the Megalovania. The
Oh,
yeah.
the first notes of it
especially
get
those,
you.
and it's like, ah.
Do.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, or not thinking, I guess I was thinking about it, but the thoughts were translated into words with my mouth. I was talking to someone about whether Undertale or The Witcher 3 has a better soundtrack. And
man, talk about two completely
Undertale,
different.
yeah, exactly. So Undertale, what I kind
of you're lagging.
decided was that the music is more like song.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I heard that the Undertale music is more like something.
Gamer Nation.
Something.
Okay. The music in Undertale is more song-like.
Yeah.
They're songs. They have melodies and they're songs. And The Witcher 3 is like a score. It's perfectly atmospheric and it just fits everything so well. And the sound of it is so authentic to the game. But it's and the like, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Whenever the start up, and just the music when you're walking around on Roach, trotting through the forest as the wind blows through the trees. It feels really nice. So, yeah, I think Witcher 3 has a much subtler soundtrack, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for what that game is, and Undertale's music.
So the thing about I was actually thinking about this right before we came on, and I didn't expect to talk about it. Witcher 3 soundtrack, I was actually looking for a specific track from it to see if I could put it in like one specific part of my video. But anyway, I was looking for a part of the soundtrack, and I realized how...
They have weird-ass names. I've tried to look for certain songs, and they have weird names.
Yeah, they do. And there's certain songs that are off the soundtrack because they're more like ambient music. But I realized how dependent on the circumstances the music in that game is, like to the point where like depending where you are and what time it is and stuff, it plays different music. And I think it's subtle enough that you don't think about it while you're playing, but it gets into your head subliminally where like it makes that world so much more it makes it feel you feel a connection to parts of the world and the atmosphere of that game and certain parts of that game based on the music in a way that I didn't realize was happening, and I
totally
I love it. It's so good.
I'm especially impressed by how it's not like there's an overworld theme that just plays in loops. You don't really even notice what part of it
you will start to notice after like
like
50 hours, but
I guess.
Yeah. But I mean it's not a big
20%
deal.
in.
It's good enough that also, so I won't spoil anything, but there's moments where you move on to a new area where you probably haven't been to that area yet, and you might be 30 or 40 hours into the game, and it'll play a completely new track that you've never heard before, and that's a cool moment. Red Dead Redemption had this was just a one-time track, but when you entered into Mexico in Red Dead Redemption, it played a song, and then when you headed home, it played a song, and those moments were so good, and The Witcher 3 kind of recreates that a little bit. I don't.
That song Compass?
I think
or do you
maybe
mean Go
that's
Back
the
Home
song.
to America?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because this.
Are you lagging? Yeah, you are. This is such a terrible fucking podcast.
Come on, this sucks ass.
All right, you're back.
There's one song that plays when you are riding back to your farm, and that song, I think it's called Compass.
Yeah.
That one, it's so good.
You descend the
I'm gonna listen
mountain
to that again as soon as we're done.
Yeah,
that was
really
amazing.
Good.
That game was just incredible, and I need to play that again.
Yeah, and The Witcher 3 evokes those same.
That would be my dream come true if they re-release that on PC.
Same here. That's my biggest re-release wish by far. But anyway, Witcher 3 recreates that feeling a lot, but it feels more. Sometimes it isn't. I think a lot of the times it's intentional, but it feels. What would you call it? What's the buzzword that all the reviewers use? Not dynamic, but fuck. Now I can't remember. Emergent. It feels emergent.
Yeah.
It feels like Like it's just a moment that just happened to happen through coincidence, and even if it probably is somewhat intentional, but that's part of what makes that game so great, is that even just down to the way they design the world and where like the paths go, they intentionally create these kind of moments where you'll crest a hill or you'll be walking along the edge of a cliff and you get this view, and maybe if you're lucky the sun is setting at the right time that you get this amazing view, and God, it is great. And then there's like the storms that come and go and the wind starts blowing and everything. That atmosphere, that world that they build.
It's probably my favorite open world game that I can remember. That and Red Dead are just
I would put
standouts
I would
for
put
me.
Grand Theft Auto 5 up there.
I wouldn't. I don't like GTA 5 a lot, but
I liked it a lot more than most
Witcher
people.
Witcher 3 is a step above.
As far as open world games go, it would be off the top of my head. There's probably some other ones that would be pretty far up there too, but Morrowind, Witcher 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Red Dead Redemption are the ones that I. Oh, and World of Warcraft for sure.
Is that really
yes,
insane?
Yes, it is.
Whatever.
To me, it is. It's the same. It's effectively the same to me. The world of World of Warcraft was kind of amazing when you think about like the scale of it and everything. I've never seen a game recreate that much variety of a world that you actually kind of want to explore. Like the thing that kept me going in World of Warcraft was getting to the next area and just seeing what it was. I liked that. I liked that world a lot. So, God, what else? Okay, speaking of soundtracks, so we're talking about how great Undertale and Witcher 3s are.
That was the only thing I cared about for the limited amount of time that I was playing it.
Sorry, you just said something that you probably said like a minute ago, but
oh man,
that's fine. Okay.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Speaking of soundtracks, Hotline Miami 2 also came out this year.
I forgot about that.
Yes, and had a better soundtrack than Hotline Miami 1, which is amazing that they pulled that off.
Yes.
I love that soundtrack. I adore it. My God, this has been a good year for not just soundtracks but games in general. But yeah, like I'm amazed at God, the production of these games is inspiring.
And next year we get The Last Guardian.
Oh man, yeah.
It's good times.
Metal Gear Solid 5 had a great soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack, like besides Quiet's theme and
whoa, whoa!
and on a bird.
I don't know. It still had a think about. I don't know. There's some soundtracks even in the original soundtrack. There's some tracks that are really good. Like the track that plays when you're building your loadout. Is extremely memorable. Like I would put it almost up there with like the Metal Gear Solid 2 theme song as far as like it kind of gets you pumped up, you know. It was obviously trying to evoke that same thing, and then a lot of the just like actiony kind of it's kind of a generic sounding soundtrack while it's happening. But if you, I don't know, there's some really good shit to be found in there, but it's kind of hidden. You don't think about it very much.
The obvious notes though are the few songs they use in the trailers. Those are
and the licensed songs in game. The Man Who Sold the World cover is fantastic.
Yeah, that song anymore. Just getting irritated.
Sorry.
And I, especially because I had to listen to it so many times when putting that video together.
Yeah. God.
Like, man.
Another game that came out. Another very good game that came out that I still need to I still plan to complete it, but I don't know when I'm going to get the chance. Fucking Bloodborne also came out in 2015.
How far did you get?
I beat the spider boss and went significantly into the next area where it's like a dream world almost or something like that. Like it's kind of a weird, like a door opens up and it's a different thing and you can see the big monsters. Cthulhu monsters, which I would assume is like what, a third of the way through maybe the main parts of the game.
I'd say it gets substantially denser and more difficult.
Yeah.
As it goes on.
Great.
I still have to finish the DLC, I don't have my PS4 with me, so it won't be until like later this month, or January. But that's fun.
I hope
Bloodborne's a
that when
great
I
game.
do go back to it, I won't find it quite as like I found it significantly more difficult than Dark Souls for some reason. Even though Dark Souls was my first Souls
Really?
style game, I was just
What
struggling more
what
with the
weapon
combat.
were you using
So
mostly?
I will admit that part of my problem was my insistence on using the whip, which is not a great the whip cane thing, not a great weapon, especially for bosses, for a lot of bosses, but. I like that weapon a lot. I like the way that you swing it and shit, so I can't let go of it. But yeah, I do just I have trouble dodging and stuff, and I think it's because in Dark Souls I didn't do a whole lot of that. I was mostly blocking, and I would use heavy, slow weapons because that's what I enjoyed. I loved using the Zweihander and just smashing people to the ground. And there's not as much of that kind of thing in Bloodborne. So
For me, it was the opposite. That Bloodborne's combat felt more my speed
yeah, that
with
seems like
Dark
it's
Souls.
that seems like it seems like most people felt that way, and to me, I just couldn't get into the rhythm of it. I feel like God, I struggled in that first area, a pretty easy area, that first loop, the big major loop, and where there's all like a huge amount of
That
the
gave me some trouble too.
yeah, but
That
I
I
struggled a
think is one of my
lot. Like it
that's
must have
my
taken me a couple of
favorite
hours to get through there.
opening area. Yeah, most people I've seen play it also had that experience. My brother and my friend, they both just struggled
Well, that's
a
relieving, I
lot
guess.
for a long time in that first area.
Yeah,
But that first area is my favorite area in
I liked Dark
any of
Souls'
these games.
first area a lot.
The Undead Burg, I
It's
thought
not
this was way better.
it's not
I thought this
particularly
was
interesting, but
oodles better.
I feel like the Undead Bird kind of has more. I don't know. It feels maybe it's just my experience with it was different, and so that's why I like it better. But like, I felt like the way that they place enemies and the way that the enemies attack and stuff in the Undead Burg prepares you for the game in a very fair way. And I liked that a lot. And Bloodborne felt more like it was just kind of pouring a bunch of enemies in there, and you had to learn how to. So what I didn't like about it was pulling the enemies. Like you didn't want to like aggro 15 of them at the same time, so you had to like figure out which one, like what the route was to take to not get in a swarm of them. It was just kind of annoying to me. I
I
never
mean,
like having to manage multiple enemies.
I don't know. I thought it was really good. Fun for just creating the atmosphere of there's a mob on a hunt. You're in the middle of this, but
I
also
loved the
in
atmosphere. Yeah,
design, I didn't feel obligated to fight everything.
yeah.
Like at some point, I thought it was kind of cool to have like a mob of people chasing me and just kind of running around and
I
trying to hopefully duck into some new place before they can get to me. And
maybe that was
I
part
don't
of my
know.
problem
I
was that
really liked it.
I was kind of insisting on killing everything that I came across and not ever like running. Until I get to a boss, I try not to run by enemies, but I don't know. That is a legitimate strategy that
Yeah, I didn't do it at first, but before I got to the boss, you know.
yeah.
But I mean, the aesthetics are, are good, but the actual layout of that area is just so well planned that everything leads into everything else, and
Undead Burg
everything
is
is
that
so
way, and I think
densely
it's better.
stacked together, and it's really not. It's nowhere near the level of
It sure felt like it at the time where I'd
interconnectedness as
like
that
kick down the
first
ladder
area of
and then
Bloodborne.
realize where I was and be like, oh shit, I looped around and I didn't even realize
But
it.
it's only got that moment. Like, I
No,
mean, I guess there's the other get to the lower
there's a
parts,
few other moments in
but
that particular area.
it's still significantly less interconnected
Maybe
than
it's the
the
fact that I
Bloodborne.
expected it with Bloodborne, where I was like, I was kind of more aware of where I was constantly, maybe, or like I was just kind of like waiting. All right, when does it loop around? Instead of being surprised by it. But yeah, I like Bloodborne a lot, but I feel like it just doesn't match the way that I play those games. It's like Dark Souls, the slower pace of Dark Souls is more up my alley for whatever reason, and which is why I'm really looking forward to Dark Souls 3.
Which comes out on April 12th.
It seems so far away, but
I'm excited for that game.
yeah, you should be. And some other games. Oh yeah, Grow Home. I think we both played that, right?
Yeah, I didn't finish it.
It was neat.
Fun with it, well, I did.
Yeah, it was just a
I
neat
probably
game.
had my fill though. I don't really need to go back
Yeah,
to it.
you did. That's fine. But yeah, I'm glad that game exists. It was a cool game. And City Skylines, I didn't play that much of that. God damn it. People fucking moving around in the mumble making noises. City Skylines, it was a good city builder, which nobody expected to see after the disaster that was the last SimCity. Project Cars, I didn't play as much of that as I would have liked to. Human Resource Machine, I still haven't completed. That's how fucking hard that puzzle game is. I've had to take a month-long break from that game just to clear my head because the last thing that I tried was
Which game? Say that again?
The Human Resource Machine. That's that programming game, the corporate programming game. I like that game a lot, and I'm not a big puzzle game person. And Elite Dangerous, which is, I think they actually just added in that game the ability to land on planets and shit. So I might need to reinstall that and check it out. But
did the title of that game, or is that an add-on or something? I saw like some new subtitle on Steam for it.
That's probably the expansion. I think it's a free expansion if you already own the game, though. I think it's just it's not like a DLC thing, but I'm not sure. I might just be talking out my ass.
Okay.
But yeah, I like Elite Dangerous a lot. I wish there was more substance to it, but I've never played a game that simulates anything near that convincing of like the detail of being in a spaceship. Like it's just such a cool, being in that cockpit never gets old to me. I love it. The sounds and the sights, it's perfectly done. It's just that the game itself is kind of empty. But yeah. Oh yeah, and Vanishing of Ethan Carter, that doesn't count as a 2015 game, but I played it in 2015, and that's one of my favorite games that I played this year. I loved that game.
Me too.
God, the atmosphere and
enjoyed
that whole
so
world
much.
was just so awesome. I loved it.
And that reminds me, I'll have to play the I don't have to play the whole thing, but at least see what it looks like. The Unreal Engine 4 version of that game.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't even really tell. I that's the first version I played, so I don't know what the difference is really, but it looked damn good on when I played it. So, but I remember the original one, people freaking out about how good it looked. So it looked too. So
yeah, it had those super photorealistic textures. They had some name for it, like photogrammetry or some buzzword sounding name, but the results you couldn't deny.
Yeah, and speaking of good-looking games in 2015 that are remakes of games from 2014, Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PC is a triumph of I don't even know what nobody's ever done what they've done really. Like the people have made HD remakes and stuff, but like this soon after release, upgrading the game for the PC release to the point that they did, like it looks so much better, and
absolutely
that engine it just works so well. And I enjoyed the hell out of it too. I enjoyed playing it again on the PC, and the heists and all that stuff they added. They're still adding shit to that game, but I can't like bring myself to get back into it. But playing it in first person was fun. I was amazed that they did what they did with that PC release, because Grand Theft Auto 4 on the PC was so bad that I had such low expectations of this, and it was a surprise too. They didn't announce it or anything. It was just like at E3 they were showing Grand Theft Auto 5, and I wasn't even sure it was Grand Theft Auto 5 because it looked so much different. And then they showed like I don't know, like the city or something. And I was like, holy shit, that was a good E3 moment.
Somebody mentioned, to change the subject, Crypt of the Necrodancer.
I've wanted to play that. Oh man, did you play? You played it? Oh yeah, I remember you talking about it. Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. It's pretty cool. You get to so the way it works is there's a song playing, and it's kind of like a roguelike dungeon crawler, and you move and attack and use items all to the beat. And so you have to keep this rhythm, and that's how enemies move. Everything is in time to the rhythm, and so it really feels good to play. You get really into it. It's not something that you can sit back and not think about. You have to, every movement is carefully considered and timed exactly right. And you have to think, okay, if I'm going to do this later, they're going to move to me this beat. So I need to move back and then forward again so I'm in the right place. And you have to do all of this while keeping the music in mind. And it's pretty cool. You can also, this is probably the coolest thing about the game, is you can take any song on your computer, it'll try to find where the beats are and make that the music for the game. And it's been very accurate at finding where the beats are.
I didn't know that was a feature.
That alone makes it worth playing.
I'd love to try it with Hotline Miami
Yeah.
songs.
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that with a lot of the Hotline Miami songs, and it was really fun and worked very well. And you can even like, if it's detecting, I don't know, the eighth notes when you really just want it to get the quarters, then you can have it slow down so that
Oh, wow.
it's, you know, or if it's the other way, if it's too slow, you can have it. It's a very well executed premise. Like it works
That's awesome.
fantastically. I don't remember exactly why I put it down.
There were a lot of good games coming out. That's probably
Yeah.
the reason.
I think that's why. I think something else got my attention, but it was really good. I recommend that game.
Yeah, awesome. I do plan on playing that one. That's on my list. It's been so fucking chock full of games this year that I haven't had a chance to play nearly as many as I want to, and I've played way more games this year than I think I've ever played, I guess, in terms of variety. The last one on my list is Fallout 4, which I don't want to talk about anymore. So that's that.
That'll have some mention.
Yeah.
The 2 hours it was in my life.
Yeah. Whatever.
That's one of my proudest moments of 2015 is returning that game.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't hate it or anything. It's just whatever.
Less of like it being abysmal, but more of just taking a stand.
You
know what? I don't need it.
On principle, you know what? That's respectable. All right, this has been a long podcast and a stressful one with you lagging. Damn it. But hopefully it was enjoyable.
Let me lay out the campaign promises. Next week, I will be on a different machine. I will have some kind of wired connection. I'm going to try to like power line something. This won't happen again. This will not be the quality you'll be looking forward to next week.
All right, that's a promise.
Moving forward.
But the quality of
and
the
Skippy
broadcast...
won't be at the wheel.
No, I was about to say, the quality of the broadcast is unprecedented, I think. Really fits the tone of what we're talking about and everything.
I will say that the production... the costume, we got one big costume there.
It's 2015 in a nutshell.
Do we need to put the no animals were harmed because of the shark thing that I noticed?
I don't remember that one. I don't know what you're talking about. That's too obscure for my meme knowledge. Let's end this shit. Let's get out of here. Let's skedaddle.
See everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
I hope you enjoyed our shit show. Yes. How do I stop this? There we go. Goodbye.
Stop. Bye.